Hello, my name is Zibuse Kunene from an organization called Dads in the Picture, where we encourage positive fatherhood amongst males. But primarily, our role is to be advocates for the presence of a father in a child's life so that whenever a child gets to reflect and look back and over their lives, they can always say that dad has always been there. Now, dad does not always have to be a biological father, but dad can be a grandfather, an uncle, and any positive male role model that is immediately around and available to help in the growth and the development of the child. So that's what we're about. We advocate for the presence of a father figure in a child's life so that the child can have a holistic and wholesome growth and development as they grow older and become a fully fledged adult and human being. And even then, past the stage of being a fully fledged human being, at some point we all need our fathers. As it doesn't matter how old we become, we do need fathers in our lives, and most of us tend to find a fatherly figure in whichever space that we go into. And when we don't find that, we keep searching because there's a longing for a male voice. So that's what we're about. However, what we then do is we advocate for fathers or for males to be there. And because some of them, if not most, don't know how to be a positive male role model, we then say, come and let us journey with you. We are not perfect fathers, but we are all striving to be perfect in this journey. We all striving to be the best that we can. So that's what Dads in the Picture is all about. The topic of today is the role of absent fathers. Absent fathers do play a role, whether they know it or not, whether they acknowledge it or refuse to acknowledge it, but they do play a role in a child's life through their absence. And I'm going to break that down as you we listen and we go on. So there are different categories of of absent fathers. The first one is a present but absent. So it's a present absent father. Now that one is a dad or a father who is there but is just cruising along. They think and they've grown or they've become accustomed to believing that simply by virtue of them being there physically, they are playing a role of being a father. They're happy to be the disciplinarian. They're happy to just um, think of themselves as babysitting children whenever the mother or other caregivers are not there. So that's a present absent father. And then we have what we call a completely absent father. So those are the ones who are just physically and otherwise not there for the child. So the child grows up throughout and they don't know who their father is. They've never known what a father's voice is like. They don't know how does it feel like to be hugged by a father, and so they grow up searching for that fatherly void from other men, and sometimes they find that in the wrong places, if not most of the times. Girl children tend to find that in older male figures that they meet, and that's where most of them get the concept of sugar daddies, because the father has not been there, has not provided for their needs, and so they have that longing, that sense of hearing an elderly male tell them that they love them and they hug them. And basically that's the effects of being a completely absent father. That it's basically one of the effects. It takes our children and throws them out there into the wolves, and we are not even there to witness it. And for some of us who get to see it from the sidelines, it becomes such a sore point to see a child who has gone further into their pain and their misery and trying to fill that void, searching for it in the wrong places, getting abused, getting neglected, and all sorts of stuff simply because a father was not there. Now, that's just one of the impacts or some of the impacts of an absent father, right? The other one that I want to touch on is the impact, and I'm going to move from absent to positive, to absent to present. So the impact of a present father is that it helps a child in their psychosocial development. It helps them with their self-confidence. I mean, I see it with my youngest son, with my son. He's confident. I see him when he engages with other children. He could proudly say, my daddy did this, my daddy did that. And you can imagine then, for a child whose father is not there, how will they say that? It hurts. And even though at times children may not show it, but the scar is there. Every time they hear another child saying, my daddy this, my daddy that, you can imagine then what it does to them. Let's take a child who is at daycare, um, and other children are being fetched from daycare by their own fathers. And this child looks around and it is only mom who fetches him or her from daycare. Imagine what that does to that child. Imagine how that child looks at the father who's coming to pick up the child, hug them, and the child is happy to see their father. And they take their bag and they walk with them and they hugging and kissing and playing. And this one is observing and seeing that my father is not there. I don't have a male who does that for me and to me. And so the hurt starts and it grows with each and every instance of that child witnessing and seeing other fathers being there for their children. We think and we tend to downplay it, but the impact goes so much deeper and it starts out very early. So it is the role that a positive and present father does. He instills and helps support the building of a confident child. And inversely, the absent father, then his role is the opposite. The confidence of the child is destroyed. It's never even get to be built. It's never harnessed. That's the word that I'm looking for. Um, and they get to doubt themselves. Why did my father leave? And that's in the case where the father did not is not deceased. Why did my father leave? Is it because of me? Am I unlovable? Am I not worthy of being loved, of being taken care of? Why isn't my father here? They ask themselves those questions. And the father is not there to answer those questions. He's going through his own things. He's not there. And so the child grows up and continues to question themselves, and the confidence is not there. And what then happens is the confidence that they're not getting at home filters through into their school performance, filters through in how they engage with their friends. And all the while, the absent father is oblivious to what is happening to his child. And I want to touch on a couple of things that the father gets to have in terms of impact in a child's life. Fathers are a mirror upon which our children reflect and discover who they are. A child needs to look at that mirror and see who they are. If they don't have that mirror, if they look at that mirror and nothing is there, how will they build their own self-identity? Upon what do they reflect and realize who they are when the father is absent? How do we get to instill a sense of identity in a child who does not know their father? How do we get to instill a positive image or a positive self-image of a child when the father is not there? I'd like us to think about that. Who does a child become when the father is not there? My next point: in the absence of a father, the child reflects what they see, and that becomes their world. In the absence of a father, the child reflects what they see. So if they see negativity, that becomes their world. If they see violent men, that becomes their world. If they see gangsters, that becomes their world. But if they see positive male role model males from that on that mirror, their world changes. So the role of an absent father is that he diminishes a sense of self-worth in the child, in his child. Let me not even put a distance there, but he diminishes a sense of self-worth in that child. Children reflect their feelings through their behavior, and their behavior reflect their emotional needs, whether fulfilled or not. So this is where you find that children are angry and they take out that anger on their friends. And it's because they don't know how to convert the hurt that they're feeling, right, in a different manner and articulate it as pain. And they grow up to become the very same adults that we see, who also cannot articulate their feelings of hurt and disappointment, but they express them through anger. And anger, for most of us, hides certain underlying emotions. And we don't want to reveal those. Most women judge a father by how good or bad a husband he has been, and vice versa. So this point talks to how when I'm a great father, someone will automatically think I'll make a great husband. Someone will automatically think I'll make a great companion. But that's not always necessarily the case. I may be a great husband, I may be a great partner, but I can be a terrible father. I can be a good person out there, but I can be a terrible husband and a terrible father. So our ability to be parents is not necessarily defined by one role that we play. So whenever we see someone becoming a bad husband, a bad partner, that man may be a different and a good father. So let us not learn to cluster all these different roles that we play in our lives into one and make a holistic judgment. And I'd like to talk on that specifically for those couples who tend to separate and then fight amongst each other and throw all sorts of dirt that he was a cheating husband, he was a cheating partner, he did all A, B, C, and D. But when you look at the other role that he played, he was a very good husband. And that's where we need to focus on primarily when it comes to the best interest of the child. How good is this person at being a father? It takes a lifetime to be a good father. And so let's give ourselves a break, right? When we make progress or when we don't. And this one, I want to touch on the fact that when probably a child is 5 years old and I've been a bad father, it does not translate into me being a bad father throughout the child's life. Things may change. Things may change along the way. Both of us grow. My child will grow and get to understand certain things better. I may grow and get to relate to my child better because of the experiences that I've seen. It is only at my old age, and even then, probably even before my death, that my children realize, or even after, that children will realize how good or bad a father I've been. And so we should never judge a father as being bad just from one instance or just from a particular season in either the child's life or the father's life. So the role of an absent father is is so detrimental to a child's development that even when it becomes present later on in life, it still does not change the fact that that child has had a very bad experience of an absent father when they were growing up. That's why at times you would find fathers who are absent and now have made up the relationship between their children. They tend to want to compensate that through their grandchildren. And so they want to give the grandchildren more time, more attention. But it still does not take away from the fact that the father was absent. The damage has already been done. Yes, some things can be forgiven, some things can be repaired, but once you crumple a piece of paper in your hand and you open your hand and you let it go, no matter how you try to straighten it out, the creases will always be there. So let's take that into consideration. Let us consider the best interest of the child wherever we are in our lives. Let us always think about children first, whether we're fighting or whether we in good times, but children matter. Children need to have a father in their life. And as I close, I want to reflect on what I've just shared in the past few minutes. That even though I may not have really delved too much in what the role of the absent father is, and I would have liked to go deeper, but what I'd like to just simply highlight is that when the father is absent, he causes pain. He causes the child self-doubt. The child grows up without a sense of identity. They don't know who they are. Whether it's a boy child or a girl child, they just don't know who they are. They don't know how to relate with other men in their lives. And a father brings about authority and a certain level of order and discipline. And this is not even talking to the presence of mothers, but just the absence of a father. When he's not there, all of these things happen. What do we do from here on? Do we condemn absent fathers for good and cast them into the grave of deadbeat fathers? No. We need to constantly reach out. We need to constantly be engaging and sharing with them the impact of their absence. We need to constantly be advocating, being activists and saying you can still be a good parent no matter how insufficient you feel. The time is only too late when your child is dead or when you are dead. But for as long as the both of you are living, there's always time and room to make improvement. And even us who are looking in from the outside, let us learn not to judge the absent fathers, but let us learn to understand where they are and help them get back into a child's life. It is our responsibility, all of us. It's not just mine, it's not just yours, but it is all of us. We cannot let our children down. And I would implore all fathers who are absent and those of us who have friends who are fathers who are absent to share information, to share this knowledge that they need to come back and play that role in a child's life, even if it's a phone call, even if it's just to be there with them. 5 minutes, if you can, or more, but start small and let it grow in leaps and bounds. Thank you, moms and dads, for tuning in, for listening to me rant and rave about absent fathers. Have a lovely day. Love you all. Peace.